Okay, well, welcome. I have
Thank you.
CB Seal the Deal here, and I have Dymil's Kitchen here. So we have Sean and Aunt Celeste, because you got to put a handle on stuff, even if I'm the moderator. It's not fair. And we are here today to just get an introduction of them, their businesses, their products, their services, and honestly, their faith journey. I think that it's important to share this portion of people's lives when you're coming into business, because for me, I know that it sets the precedent for anything I do. So let's start with ladies first. My aunt Celeste from CB Seal the Deal is going to introduce herself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, your services, what you do on the day-to-day, and yeah, just tell us about you.
Okay. My name is Celeste Atkins, and I was born and raised in Philadelphia.
Hey.
And I'm the oldest child to my parents. I have two beautiful sisters, who one is Brea's mother. I'm 60 years old. My hobbies include writing and reading, and I also play pool. My profession, what I do as far as a career, this is writing books is a second career for me. But my career is I'm an administrator as well as educator. I serve as the dean of a Bible Institute at the Deliverance Evangelistic Church and been here 25 years. I'm a mother, a wife, a grandmother. I have one great grandchild. I have a lot of nieces and nephews and great nieces and great nephews, and again, two sisters, and a lot of in-laws and friends as well.
Great. All right, and Sean, just tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, what you do on a day-to-day.
That's hard to follow up. Okay, but so my name is Sean Betts. I go by Dymil. I am from the great state of Jersey. It's never debatable. So it's always I am 30 years old. I have a little brother, little sister. I was raised more so by my grandparents. And then my mom definitely played a picture in that as I got older. And I am the owner and head chef of Dymil's Kitchen, we're a catering business, also not just catering, but providing meals as well. I'm also an educator. This is year 8. Whew.
Wow.
Year 8 in education, and the product. We also offer food services in my kitchen as well, and recipes and just live stream virtual cooking classes and things of that nature. So
okay,
I'm every step of the way.
Nice. So again, we were talking about how we wanted to highlight faith today and our, individual walks with God. And in that, since you both were talking about the things you do outside of your daily job, your 9 to 5, I should say, seems like it's not 9 to 5, but the idea is 9 to 5. How did you know that extra thing you were doing, writing books, cooking, was a part of your purpose? Was that something that you were supposed to do, that you were led to do, and that would make an impact? So you could start first.
Okay. Well, actually, I mean, I always had a desire to write a book, but I never really had time, my schedule. And it was during COVID-19 that my schedule just got torn up, and things just calmed down for me. And it was during that time that I was sitting home. My job had closed down for about a week or so. And I started feeling all these different type of emotions. I can't explain. I don't know whether it was fear, whether it was isolation. I can't, name it. Okay. So I was sitting home and I remember turning on CNN. And when I turned on CNN, Governor Cuomo, the governor of New York, was informally, I say informally because he wasn't the president, he was informally addressing the nation. And when he was addressing the nation, he said something that really stuck to me. He said that we were in that mental health was on an all-time rise, and that we needed to find things to redirect those emotions and those feelings that we were having. That's what he said. And so he started naming things. He said, but the only thing I remember is that he said that he knew people that were writing manuscripts. He knew people that were painting. And I remember, now my laptop was open on the desk. I remember digging in my my bag, and I was dug in my bag, and I pulled out this journal that I had for years. I will always take the journal with me everywhere because in case I went to a meeting or something, and I didn't have paper, if I wanted to write down something that I needed to remember, I will always write it in that journal. And so what happened was I wrote in that journal, and when I opened up the journal had a title of a book that I was going to write years ago. This is true. And the title said, Never Too Late to Bloom. I said, wow, never too late. And I looked at the title, and I just started handwriting the book. Within 2 days, I had wrote my first book, and the title was Never Too Late to Bloom. The way that the words were flowing, how easy it was for me, I knew it was something that I had to do.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now. Yeah, and she's written a lot of books since then. And every time she tells me this, even when she initially asked me to come on board and help her with her novels, I was shocked because writing a book takes, for some people, years. But when you've held on to something so long, and it's just like, wait, I remember it. I can only imagine how much time she spent writing out the chapters in the books. And it's a great book. I've read it. And it's an easy read. It's not something that requires you to have all this, education or extra thought into the stories, but the stories hit you where it should. So I think that's amazing. And, even you looking at something and remembering the journey and remembering, hey, I was supposed to start that, and actually doing it, that's a big thing for people too. Because some people look at things and write stuff down and never do it. It's just something that ends up being on their to-do list for forever. So I think that's amazing. Sean, how did you know that cooking and, inspiring people through food and through being an entrepreneur was your purpose? How did you know that that was something that you had to do?
Well, it started for me when I was a kid. I was in the kitchen a lot with my grandmother, and I'm a PK. I'm a preacher's kid. So my grandfather is a preacher. My great grandfather was a preacher. It's just in a lot of families of just being in that area. And it just was always a feeling that I would have. I would feel so free. And like when we're cooking, it would build memories, but I seen how food brought people together. And when I could, every Thanksgiving, I would just always remember people asking like, who made what? And like based off of who made what, that's how much they enjoyed it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I started processing, like people really linked emotion and ties to what was being prepared in that food or who prepared it and the emotion that it gave to them. So I realized from a young age that like I wanted to be able to bring people together through that channel. And around like high school, I started like having my friends come over and they'd be like, nah, like we want you to cook. We don't care what it is, but like cook. And I was like, okay, I'll make something, but they ended up enjoying it. But we always were together. And even in college, I just started doing it more. And to the point where I realized like it was a bigger purpose than just me making food. It was the ability to bring multiple walks of life together and have them just share in the journey that we're all on. And it was like, how can you do that with just food? And I was like, more than just food. It's not, it's communion, it's fellowship. And then a lot of that came to the purpose we're gonna talk about later, which is like my faith. And a lot of that goes back to the basic principles like communions and being together, breaking bread with each other. Yes. So I realized that I was in my purpose that because I was happy doing it. And
it makes a difference.
I was seeing work. I would wake up and excited to cook. Or if I mess up, I'm like, okay, I figure out again. Versus that dreadful feeling of like waking up and like, oh, I gotta go to work. Or like, oh, I wake up every day and I just thank God. And I just be like, thank you. Like continue to bless me to be able to bless others. But I'm excited to do what I do. I love doing what I do. I love meeting those challenges. So that's just how I realize that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing because it doesn't feel like work. It feels like I'm supposed to be having fun with it and I'm supposed to be seeing the impact that it has on other people. And it fills my heart.
Absolutely. And I think the thing you said about being happy to do it, having joy, I think the pandemic has really forced people to reevaluate what they're doing and how it makes them feel. There are people who have left jobs because they were like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. This doesn't fulfill me in the way that I thought that it would. So even you being able to evaluate that at this point in your life is a huge thing. It makes a difference. And, you know, it shows how long you're able to do this. There are things we have to do, but it's only for a short amount of time. And you're like, thank God I'm done. But there are things that you enjoy doing that you're like, I could do this for a lifetime. So that's really dope. And speaking of, that's Aubrey, y'all know her. And speaking of, you know, bringing people together, especially even when it comes to romance novels and being an author, the idea is to bring people together and to really be hooked on you and on what you are providing. Food is a big thing too. You have a niche, a thing that makes you different from everyone else. So we'll start with Celeste. What is your target audience? Like, who are you trying to reach through your book? Is there a certain demographic? Is there a certain age group? Did you ever even think of that type of thing? Or is it a universal book that you are trying to sell?
Well, I had to say that when I started writing, I didn't think about any type of targeted audience. I like to say that my audience found me. And the reason I believe that it is because I adopted a love for romance novels in my teenage years. And I learned a few years back that my granddaughters have a love for romance novels. And when I reviewed some of the things that they were reading, I was really like horrified, because it seems as though the books were more descriptive today than they were when I was a teenager. And I remember one day hollering out, I'm gonna write some books for my grandkids.
Leave something to the imagination.
Right, leave something. And so when I learned a few months ago that my biggest audience is 13 to 25 years of age, women, 13 to 25 years of age, women and girls. And my granddaughters are 13, 17, and 20. So therefore, like I said, it was a desire of mine that I didn't know was a desire, was to give my grandkids something cleaner to read. And also, I didn't set out to do it, but they became my audience.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I think sometimes it grows. We figure that out at a later point. And then sometimes people go into it knowing exactly who they want this to be for. But I agree with you. There are so many books now that, again, don't leave anything to the imagination, but, you know, are stamping love on things. And that's part of our faith in us understanding what God is to us, to where we can't just stamp that on everything and it actually be a true representation of love, because it's not. So I think that makes a huge difference. Sean, how did you figure out later who your target audience was, or was it something that you knew from the get-go, this is the people that I want to reach?
So I was about to jump on that conversation with you, because that almost took me away, because that's a whole other conversation when in regards to faith and just where we at in this world today. Because I agree. No, so it started with a goal as a kid, and it still is the same goal, but then I learned about like the target audience. So my goal as a kid was to help everybody in the world. Like, I just wanted to help everybody. And then it turned into like, I want to feed every person in the world. And for me, it was then it turned into, okay, well, how can I do that? And then I had to turn into my target market. So now my target market is from 18 to 45, which is the range is ridiculous. 18 to 45, more so women at this point, but it ranges from both, to be honest. And I honestly like to attack or target families, because I love to like come in and actually like be a part of their family, like join and learn and cook for them and see what their conversations are. So it has recently turned into that. But my goal still is to feed every person on the world.
Yeah, and when you say feed, I think that we've talked about this before. it's not just through food, but it's through the experience, it's through the teaching, it's through you saying, hey, I can't reach you physically, but here's something that you could tangibly hold and look through and say, this is the meal that I want to make for my family today. And you spend the time to really curate that and make sure it's easily understood, but it also is something that they maybe have never thought to combine or thought to create in their kitchen. So I think that that's dope. I think that not a lot of chefs and creators think about the big picture. It's not just, who you want to target, but how are we getting there? How are you making that happen? So we're going to transition a little bit more into the religious part of the conversation, just because I want to know what you both believe. I know that for me, I believe that God is my Lord and Savior, that Jesus died on the cross for my sins, and that because of that, we have a right to eternal life through him. I believe that in that commitment to me saying that I know him and I'm in relationship with him, there are things that I have to do, that I'm required to do to show that I am in covenant and in relationship. I believe the Holy Bible is right. I believe that everything in it is the truth and not just the story. Sorry, I'm about to be done. Isn't just a story to be told, but something that you can look to for answers. So that's what I believe. Celeste, what do you believe?
I believe basically the same thing, that Jesus is my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I believe and I know that he died for me.
That's right.
On that third day. And now he's seated at the right-hand side of the Father.
Yes.
And he has given me the Holy Spirit, which is a comforter to lead me and guide me.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. I work for a Bible school, so you have a lot of people that come from a lot of different denominations. And one day we had this great big debate about eternal security, like once saved, always saved. And so, and they even had some scriptures to back it up. But here's my thing, what I said to them. I believe that once you accept the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Savior, you must maintain a right relationship with God in order to stay saved. If you don't maintain that right relationship with God, you'll be one of them people where when you get there, he's going to say, depart from me.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. you hear Pastor here. Sean, you up, man. Don't let the fire burn out, bro.
I love it. So again, I agree on everything that was said. I grew up in a Christian household, and like I said, my grandfather was a pastor, and still is 50 some years plus. And I think it wasn't until recently, last couple of years, where I did my own spiritual journey, and I really divulged myself into really just learning and connecting with God on a different level. So I really did fasting. I really jumped into myself for like, how can I serve and be a better service, and how can I become a better man of God? And I required to like really look at a lot of things and realize that like a lot of things that in this cultural world, I don't believe and I don't fit in. And it's okay. That is okay, because it's not meant for me to do that. That's a different kind of bracket. And I think I've looked at a lot of things, and even with like deep divulging and questioning and just asking like, explain it to me further, or like why. I remember my grandfather, I started reading other spiritual texts just to see and have an understanding of like what's out there. And he was like, why are you reading that? What are you doing? And I was like, nah, I have my beliefs and I'm front of my beliefs, but I also would like to see and understand the different perspectives and why. But I'm wholeheartedly, I read the Bible daily. I have Bible studies. I have men Bible studies. Me and my brothers, we read it together. We send each other messages. We talk to each other. We have brother study groups. We encourage each other. And it's a lot of times it's rough. It's hard to do that because everybody looks at you so different. But I learned that it doesn't matter how people look at you. As long as God looks at you the way God looks at you, it don't matter. Like you're never looking for the appeasal of man or woman in the earth. You're looking for appeasal of God. So as long as you're moving in that direction, that nothing else really matters on earth.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that even we're similar in age to where I think that everybody looks at it like you got time or you can figure that part of your life out later. But I think that I've come to realize in my journey that no, it's not about figuring things out later. It's about you every day there's something more for you to do. It's not an end goal to where it's just like, all right, I figured everything out today. Great. No more learning, no more asking God, no more going the extra mile. So I think that that's a big thing for others to see, people our age on social media, to see that we are sold out for God. Like this isn't just something that we do socially or something that we do on occasion, but this is a lifestyle choice. This is something that we've decided to do because God has called us to do it.
I think it allows people to operate on a different level too. Like it allows
Yeah.
people to operate and maneuver themselves in a different kind of way. And you can see when the people aren't that way, you can definitely tell how they operate. And I just personally, I can't be around stuff like that. And it's sad because like we are like how we are close in age, and we talk about this all the time. Like I was raised with my grandparents, so my soul is older. So a lot of stuff that I see like that's going on in the culture and how people are viewed and stuff like that, I'm like, I don't agree with any of that. But because my faith the way it is, I'm labeled as like you're misogynistic or like you have these theories and that. And it's like, no, I just believe this. But when you start to surround yourself around fellow followers and fellow believers, you realize that hey, no,
you're not crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they're like remind you like, why do you feel bad? Like what you're saying is beautiful. And I'll be like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, and that moves us even into our next question about what made you come to this point where you believe God, where you are in relationship with him. I know that for myself, I've grown up in church. I mean, from a baby, I was in service, on my mom. But I think that not until college, I really understood it for myself, because I never wanted it to be that the God that my mother serves was my, you know what I'm saying? I want my own relationship. And it took me until college to figure out, like, I can have my own relationship. I don't have to be a certain age or of a certain whatever, or even of a certain level of knowing the Bible to where I can be in relationship with him. So it took me out. I joined the gospel choir against my will. A friend of mine brought me to a rehearsal, and I never stopped coming. Because every time I came, there was something that God showed me, or there was something that even I didn't realize was on me or was affecting me in a certain kind of way, where I realized things were starting to change. My life was starting to change. My perspective was starting to change. And that's my husband, who was in the gospel choir trying to do dishes right now. But, I realize now, that was the best choice I've ever made, ever. I wouldn't be a mother right now. I wouldn't be a wife right now if I did not make that choice to say that, no, this is the God that I'm going to follow. My husband was in the choir. Arby's a result of that choir, relationship. And, I thank God for that. That one moment, let me get her. That one moment changed my life. Was there a certain moment, Angeles, that your life changed to where you really became in relationship with God, that you were just like, wait, like I want to actually live this life this way?
Well, Brea, as she said, she's my niece, and I'm the oldest. My sisters and my brother, we were raised by our grandparents, and we didn't come from a religious home. Like, sometimes you go to people's house on Sunday, you hear spirituals on the radio and stuff like that. That never happened in our house. We didn't know I didn't know anything about God. My earliest encounter with anyone that knew anything about God was my Aunt Marie, who's still around. She's like in her 80s. My Aunt Marie, and she had got saved. And when she got saved, my uncle, who was my father's brother, still was not saved. And so I remember him calling her holy rollers and stuff when she be coming down the street. And we all as kids like, you go to holy roller,
Oh.
So, but it wasn't until I graduated from high school and I went, and my first boyfriend, mother, who I'm married to now, was an evangelist. And so when I met her, she's like, "You're different." And she would start telling me I was different because I wasn't all, out there. But I was sheltered my whole life. I was raised by my grandparents. I was sheltered. So she was like, so she started taking me to church. And I did go to church, but I have to be honest, I didn't submit right away. I didn't surrender right away.
That's honest. That's true.
I didn't surrender until I was in my 30s. Even though I met her at 17, I didn't surrender until I was in my 30s. And I think for me was I was at a point in my life that so many things was not in my eyesight right. Disappointment, hurt, pain, all the above. And so I wanted to know about this God that they say heal you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I wanted to know about this God. So I was in when the church door opened, I was the first one there. My car be the first one there. So I was in church Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whenever I can get there. Even I asked the lady, let me help you clean the church so I could be in the church.
Oh,
so when
wow.
I got the call to the ministry, I was like, who? Somebody else, I said, who? Because number one, I felt as though my personality, people don't believe it now. I'm more open now than I've ever been in my life. I'm a shy person. I'm a reserved person. I like to do a lot of great things, but I like to do them behind the scenes. I don't like to be out in the front where everybody know what I'm doing. I like to go behind the scenes where I can see my life is just not geared in that direction. But I say all of that to say, that's what sparked me to love God. And today, I thank God I surrendered, I submitted, and I'm yielded to God.
Yes. Yes.
I'm supposed to keep following up after all of these. Whoa, okay. So let me jump on there. So I have a similar background to a lot where it was at a young age, I was just kind of like forced into beliefs. And then I was like, at some point I was like, I have to find out what I believe. Like I just can't believe things because you tell me to do it and this is what I should do. And it's like, as a person in general, we always had that question of like, why should I do that? So for me, it was more of like, I had to I was about 25, and I started realizing that like a lot of things aren't in my control, no matter how I try to control them. And at that age, it's like you think that you're invincible, and it's just like, oh, I don't need God, I don't need to go to church, I don't need the Bible, I don't need this. And it's just like once I started having that mindset, I feel like in my personal development, God was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna let you do that. And I started seeing the aftermath of that, and like
yeah,
You start letting go.
Yeah.
And I could like I'm always very transparent. Like one point in my life, I was homeless. So I was living under my car, and I was just getting so frustrated. And I was like, at this point, I got to the breakdown. I was like, who can I trust? Like everything I did on my end, it failed. So like, what would it not benefit me to just be like, hey God, listen, I know that I messed up and I tried to do this thing on my own, but I can't. Like yeah, it's bigger than me. And for me, it was like I got to the point where I was like, I ask myself this every day: who do I trust more, me or God? And if I ever begin to fix my lips and say me, I already have a problem. And it's like I believe came to having. If I put it all on God, and I'll be like, but something don't go how it's supposed to, I could just be like, hey, listen, you ain't do what you're supposed to do. But when has that ever happened? And to me, I'm like,
Yeah.
every single day, because it's like, no, a lot like come to me as you are. Give me all your burdens, and I'll make them like my yoke is. I'm not the best, I'm a C plus, and the Bible scriptures we quotes. And like, I'm just saying, I'll give you some of them.
Sign up for Bible school. Or you could do it online.
I'm here for that.
His yoke is easy.
I'm telling you who I am on this journey. I'm just letting you know. No. So I've come to that belief, and I realize that like that leads me in a lot of my endeavors. like how I am as a person. Like one of my favorite scriptures or stories is when Jesus washed feet, and it was more so for me seeing the humility of a person, where it's like, no, like you can't do something for somebody when the Savior who doesn't need to do anything really just wash feet. No, absolutely not. So my belief is that like
I think you
Wait a minute.
froze.
Yeah, Sean froze.
Hold on.
He
hello.
froze. There he
Yeah,
is.
we can see you now. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just said my belief is just God is just bigger than me, and I believe that God is always going to be God, and
Yeah.
allow me to just be the humble servant that I am.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, and it makes a difference. I think that even as you grow in your walk with Christ, there's always something that requires you to resubmit yourself and
Yes.
humble you back.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
my pastor, my husband says this all the time, like every time you reach a new level, you're at the bottom of that level.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to remember every single thing that you've done, overcome, have learned, and you have to apply that. So there's never a point where we should get big-headed or feel like we are better than someone else when we have the ability to teach other people and to show other people. Because I believe that sometimes people don't want to be taught. Sometimes people don't want to learn. But when you show them who you are and you show them what you believe in, the God that you serve, I think that one of the big things that, even for myself and Mr. Betts here, we were able to be in communication with each other because I started working at the school he was at. And I think that people in the space realize that Coach B is the way Coach B is. There's not going to be a convincing of otherwise. There are spaces that I can't occupy. There are things that I can't come to. And it's never, and there's also energies that I'm never going to exert. There's the way I'm going to be because I know that I have to be an example. So something upsets me, I remove myself from the space and then I get myself together and then I come back. But that's all in the teaching of God really showing us who we are in the flesh and the things that we have to battle on a daily basis. And it's never a point where we have to be, better than someone else, but you make sure that you maintain the space and the way that you're supposed to every day. And I think that that's hard sometimes, even in business, because I think that people think you have to be a certain kind of way and finesse yourself a certain kind of way, or you have to be super flexible. I've realized that with me and marketing and that kind of stuff, there's only so much flexibility I can have. This is what this is. This is what this not. This is what it's going to be. And if that doesn't fit what somebody else wants to do, it's okay that that opportunity didn't happen. And that moves us into our next question. How does faith in your relationship with God operate in your business and in your books and the way even the journal you're writing on, Celeste, that's helping people kind of work through the Bible. How does your relationship with God work into that? Because I know for me, it's like, if opportunities, like Mr. Best was saying, if opportunities fall through, I'm okay with that because clearly it wasn't something that God wanted me to do, or things that I have to say no to, where it's like, okay, there's a lot of money, but but I have to say no because God doesn't want me to be in that space right now. And you got to really, hold on to the table and be like, all right, I can't do it, but thank you for the opportunity. So how does your relationship with God work in your business? How do you apply that? How do you work that into it?
You want Sean to go first? Because he always say that we
Yeah,
Sean
go ahead.
first.
Sean.
I appreciate that. So, similar to what you said, like, so a lot of my personal beliefs and my stances come into business because it won't allow me to do certain things, and it won't allow me to, like, for example, the way I am with my clients and customers, I treat everybody with the respect that I would want, and that the love that I try to see the God in everybody. And when I do that, certain moral codes that I have with my faith, I'm not gonna do. And like you said, with certain business deals, oh yeah, I agree with that one a lot. But it comes down to the faith aspect where it's like, Are you just impressed for the value of the money or the dollar?
Yeah.
Or are you still going to remain spiritual when I tempt you? Then knowing that I have more for you, I just need to make sure that you're on my side at this point and that you say who you really are. So let me just show you, let me just make sure of you this test. And when you do that, I always believe that there's always, God has doors, right? Like,
Yes.
he's always gonna, there's nothing that he took away that he's never gonna replace 10 times better. So
Mhm.
sometimes when you do that, you have to remind yourself that like you can't fall victim into the worldly possessions or the fleshly possessions, and you still have to operate from the spiritual realm of like, no, my morals and my spiritual, my faith won't allow me to move this way, no matter
Yeah.
the dollar amount, because I won't be bought. I can't be bought to go.
You already been bought. You've been bought with a price.
Well, yeah. So it's like, but I can't be.
You've
I
been
can't
bought.
be like can't be bought with money and worldly
Yeah.
possessions for you to make me go against what I stand for and who I stand for. And I think in business it's very difficult because we use the money to survive and we want to be projected and higher. We see that, okay, well, if you do this, it's not that bad. But it's like, yeah, to you, it's not that bad. But on your spirit and on your in
Mhm.
the gate ticket, oh, it's that bad. Because that one decision could get you to the gate and just be like, hey, like this is what you have. I think one of my fears operating that way is, I tell people this all the time, is that I believe that when you get to the gate, God's gonna give you a book and it's gonna have everything you read in it. And it's gonna be like, wow, wait a minute. I'm a millionaire. I was impactful to the world. I show people how to be humble. And I'm like, this not me.
Mhm.
And God looking back at me and being like, I know. This is who you're supposed to be if you would have followed what I told you to do and what I showed you to do. So that allows me to operate how I move in business.
Okay. I want to just back up one thing.
I was.
think that
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think in a spiritual walk, we always have to go through a fill and a refilling because we never arrive. And then we are in the world. We're not of the world, but we are in the world. So you can be scarred by things of the world. So you have to go through that filling and refilling. Secondly, I want to, if I could tell a story, I would like to. Where I work at, we were about to close. This was before the pandemic happened and everything. I mean, business was really, really bad. And there was a lot of rumors about we were going to close. And so I remember praying and asking God, and I would get up and get to the church at 5 o'clock in the morning. I walk around the halls where the school is. I would just walk around the halls, just praying to God, asking God to bless us. So when Harkin College came to us, which is a secular college, now we're a religious organization. When it came to us, a lot of people said, I don't think you should get involved with that because that is a secular college and we are a religious organization. But my spirit was saying something totally different. Now, here's the thing. So we partnered with them. And of course, a lot of people look down on me. And to this day, some people still don't speak to me, even though we're successful.
Oh, don't tell me.
So anyway, listen to this. So then Muslims start coming. I mean, covered their face, gloves on, everything. And I said, God, I want to be an atmosphere changer. When they walk in this place, I want them to feel you. I want them to know you. I can't tell you how many Muslims have converted just by signing up for Harkin College and coming to Deliverance Church.
Wow.
So I want to say all of this. I say all this to say, and I even teach this in my classes. Jesus didn't hang with the religious leaders. They were the ones that hung him. They the one that put him on the cross. You get what I'm saying? He hung with the people that didn't know him, the people that were low in spirit, the people that were dirty, people that people turned away. That's the people that he hung with. He died for them. He died for us because we were the same people.
Yeah.
So sometimes there's something, I'm not saying you're supposed to do anything, but sometimes God will send you into situations that is uncomfortable for you. Why? Because it's never about us, but it's always about God.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So now let's get to the question.
I forgot you
And the
didn't
question
answer
is,
it.
my books focus on love, and God is love. My book is focused on love. I don't mention no romance because romance people think about all different types of things. They think about intimacies and sexual act. No, it's none of that. I focus on love and I illustrate God in my characters by telling how God changed their lives.
Right.
And that's the message that I want to get in every book that I write. That's the message I want to portray to the world. I don't want to just, my prayer is, God, I don't just want to be a United States author. I want to be known all over the world. Why? Because God is global. This is his world. This is not mine. This is God's world. So if I can spread love and tell people about love and let young girls know that you don't have to settle. You don't have to settle for people calling you names. You don't have to settle for people treating you any kind of way. It's people out there that will love you with the genuine love that you need to be loved with by reading my books. And that's the message that I want to give.
That's right. That's right. And I think one other thing that Mr. Betts said that I just want to have to correct, only because the Lord tells me to correct it. God doesn't tempt you. He tempts you of the thing. He doesn't tempt you. You are tempted of the things that are already in your heart and already in your mind. So he utilizes those spaces to have you figure out, oh, that's something that I didn't even realize. You're, lusting after money. That's you. He didn't tempt you of it, but he utilizes those spaces that you're lacking to show you, to show you where you can. And I had to, because if I didn't, it was gonna bother me. So I just want to
appreciate it.
It's okay. Go ahead, Ursula.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, I agree with him, because if he has an event, if there's an event at a strip club and they want him to cook some food, I wouldn't go. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't go.
Right.
But now if there's an event at the mosque, I'll be praying all the way to the mosque. I'll be praying when I get in the mosque.
Right.
And believe God that when I leave, some people are gonna call on the name of Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that in business, that's always the hard thing to navigate. It's like, is this too far for me? Is this something that I can handle? And
that's true.
Is this something that God is sending me to handle? Or is it something that I'm just trying to, see if I can flex my whatever muscle and say,
right,
oh, I went there and I didn't get caught up in whatever. Yes. Right. So as we conclude, what's next? What's something that, we may not know that's happening in business, that has happening in your personal life, that's happening in your faith journey? Okay. That's happening in your faith journey. What's next for you? What's next for, CB Seal the Deal? What's next for Dymil's Kitchen? What are we about to see? What are we about to experience? What are we able to be a part of? Whoever wants to go first. I don't know.
That's fine. So let me get this answer. All right. So there's a lot that, I'm pushing out right now, and that is from cookbooks to just more of the country tours. I pick a place and I'm just touring over the country, bringing my food to a lot of places. Also, like virtual cooking classes, looking to launch the actual physical store location or restaurant within the next year or going into 2022 of the summer. Then I'm in the process now. I really haven't told my vision to a lot of people, but I'm using Dymil's Kitchen to something that was placed in me is I want to buy about 200 acres of land. Right now I found a place and outside about 65 to 70 minutes outside of Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, I should say. And I'm just saving up that money to buy a city and like really just embed it into like a place for people to come to where it's outside of the norms of the place that we live in. And just I like to call it like a little Wakanda, but just literally just be in a place where
all right, Black Panther.
Legitimately literally there to serve, where it's like teach like clean energy and teach how to produce our own food and things of that nature.
That's good. That's good.
I also am in the process of writing a book. I really want to just write a memoir about my life.
That's great.
I'm not really interested in like the target thing. I just want to put my life out there because at the end of the day, your story can save somebody else's life. Whether one person is enough for me. So that is some of the things that's in the works for myself. Oh, and volunteering donating food. So I do the homeless, donate to the homeless every year through my cooking drive. So it's something I'm looking forward to again in November, and just being able to just continue to help the world as much as I can.
That's great.
Nice. And Celeste?
So for me, what's next for me is to write religious textbooks. Right now, I started a book. It's called Techniques of Effective Preaching, and I teach the class homiletics at the Bible Institute where I work at. And one of the things with all the books I found is that they talk about writing a good sermon, how to prepare the sermon, things like that. But they never touch on the preacher's character or their lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I have incorporated in this new textbook is I wanted to is in order for you to deliver a good sermon, you have to have a good character, and you got to have a God-like lifestyle. And so I want to continue to write my love novels. I mean, I'm at 15 now, but I'll be in this lifetime. I want to write at least 100. So continue to pray for me.
Nice. Yeah, and we were talking a while ago. It was another thing. I don't know if you mentioned it about your journals you were gonna do, like the spiritual journals that
Yes.
kind of like daily journals. I don't know if you all have seen them, like where you
Yes.
write out with certain writing prompts. So that's one thing I feel like she does a really, really good job at. Even when I worked with her when I was younger, kind of getting you to think about things differently and talk through things. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited for both of you. If anybody doesn't know, I work with both of them, doing their marketing in different ways, but essentially both marketing and helping them grow their business. And one thing I just want to say before we go is that I'm very much intentional about the people that I work with. Sometimes people say it's hard to work with family. I disagree. I think that if everybody's in the right mindset and doing things in love, it's easy. I've seen it hard for other people, but we bless God that this one isn't hard, because this is my auntie. I love her. But even with Sean, we've really grown to figure out how this works well and maintaining a professional relationship, but being like, all right, I gotta say this to you, and I hope your feelings aren't hurt.
Yes.
But I want to make sure that I'm clear in saying that this ain't gonna work, or that ain't it, or yes, this is going great.
She told me a lot of times, this ain't it, and I'm like, oh, I thought that was it. That ain't it. Okay. Or I look at her and I'm like, I don't like that.
Yeah, and that's okay. And I think that one thing I think we all can leave the viewers or listeners with for this episode is kind of understanding that it's okay to be differing of opinions.
Yes,
it's okay to know have people around you that are not going to be yes men, because
you need that. You need that.
And to lose pride, like I think that's the biggest thing that hurts a lot of people, and I had to do that myself. Let go of your ego and your pride; it will kill you every time. And
one thing I wanted to say, because you had another was a question that I wanted to ask, and really Sean, because Sean is a young man, and you have a lot of people that's really that wants to start out in business, and they want to start out on something that they like to do. And the question was, what advice or insight would you give others up and coming business owners? So, like if you get a young man that like to cook like you, what advice would you give him in order to be on the right path?
I would say before you even entertain opening a business or trying to run a business, really do some deep knowledge and knowing who you are and what you stand for. And I say that because if you don't know that, this business world is very vicious. It will make you believe and stand on anything that you don't agree with. And after that, I would say the company that you keep is essential. And I look at as far as like the disciples, the people that you're around propel you up, or they can propel you down. So I would say know who you are, know what you stand on, and be very intentional about the company that you have, like the people that you have around you and what you're doing. And then 3, get rid of all doubt and fear. Like, you're gonna fail. You're gonna mess up. You're gonna make mistakes. That is okay. It is a learning process. Go into everything wanting to learn. And 4, don't be so hard on yourself. You can't, like, I fall victim to this all the time because it's just I just am, but I've learned you got to give yourself grace. Like, you got to give yourself some time to grow. And 5, my last one is, don't do it for the money, because
Yeah.
always just
That's
continue to
right.
be 1% better than you were yesterday. Do it. Everything that you do have an intentionality behind it, that you just want to get better at your craft and you just want to help people. The money will come. It's going to be there.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
that's not the
Right.
problem. Just continue to be you and love on yourself, and love on the people around you. You don't know it all, and the people that you bring around you is for a reason. Like, I mean, like, even myself and Brea, like, I tell her all the time, I don't know anything in this thing that we're doing right now. I don't. I'll bring it to her and she'll be like, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. And I'll be like, cool. Or she'll tell me, like, that's a good idea. Let me figure it out and we'll get back to you. And I'm like, cool. But I think a lot of that is just kind of like what we do with faith. You got to learn to let go. You cannot control it. And if you bring people on, you're bringing them on for a reason. Trust them. Allow them to guide you. You don't ride a boat by yourself. You won't be tired. Let them
Right.
guide you. And that I'll say that will, and pray about everything.
Amen. That's
Pray
right.
about everything. Before
Yes.
you make a decision, pray. After you make a decision, pray. When you end a tough decision, pray. And if you listen to that gut inside you, that is there for a reason. Listen to that inner saying where you're like, no, that's not right. Then it's not right. That's not right. So,
Any advice you have on Celeste before we go for writing a novel, or even in your day-to-day job? Any advice you have for anybody wanting to be in leadership in other spaces?
Well, I mean, Sean hit on it. You got to keep God first. You got to keep God first. And also, another thing I would like to say is you got to have passion about what you do, because
Yeah.
passion will give you strength when you feel discouraged, and even when people try to tell you crazy, and you should be doing this. You need to just do something different. The passion that stirs up on the inside of you, and your relationship with Jesus Christ will give you the strength, will give you the courage to continue to go on, even when things don't look so good. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember when I first wrote my first book, and I said, "Wow, I'm gonna sell all these books." And when I got $15, I said, 15. I said, $15. I mean, it cost me 1,000 times more than that to get the book out.
Right.
But I'm saying, but the passion, that strong emotion caused me in my relationship with God, and knowing, like you said, when you asked us earlier, knowing that God, that this is a journey that I should be taking, and I didn't ask for it, God gave it to me. You know what I'm saying? So that caused me to go over and beyond what I needed to do, and I'm not going to stop no matter what.
All right.
beautiful.
I would thank you both for really sitting down with me and talking to me. I think this was an important conversation to have, because it's two different aspects of life, two different even industries, and it comes down to the same thing: keep God first, and everything else follows. So I really appreciate you all sitting down with me.
Yes, thank you. Nice meeting you, Sean.
Nice seeing you.
Hold on, I'm not ending it. Stop recording.